Good morning, children. Welcome back to the Google Classroom of Sri Gokulam Public School, Guruvayur. I hope all my dear children are very safe and happy at home. So be safe and happy at home. So yesterday we started with a poem, The Fly, written by Walter de la Mare. We discussed the first stanza. So let's continue the poem today. So yesterday we told that our poet, he wants to convey his readers that the size or the beauty of the object, it differs from one person to another. It depends on one's perspective, one's outlook, one's viewpoint. So it is different. Everything in this world, every objects or everything in this world is seen different by different people. So each person has their own particular way of considering the things, considering the beauty or the size of the things. They have their own way. It depends upon their attitude. And we never considered this tiny little fly as a great subject of topic for a poem and all. But see, our poet, he took the fly as the core subject of his poem. Even there was a film titled Echa, which released some years ago. In that film, the housefly or the fly is the main character. It helps a heroine to take up revenge against the villain. So, there are people who consider this tiny, ordinary, normal objects, everyday objects as something very important. So whatever seems unimportant or insignificant or useless may seem to someone very important, very significant. So our poet tells us to reconsider our way of considering things, our way of considering the beauty or the size of the objects or things. Our little tiny fly, for our tiny fly, everything in this world, every tiny object in this world appears so gigantic, so enlarged, so huge and large. But all those objects, small objects, everyday objects for us, it appears very small to us, but to our tiny fly it's very large. In the first stanza you can see that it is a flower bud, it is compared to a bed of feathers. You know the flower bud, it's so soft, delicate, velvety like petals. So that is compared to a feather. Even feather is so soft and delicate and velvety, has a velvety material. So this flower bud, even that small flower bud, it is compared to a bed of feathers. And its prickle, it's like a spear. Prickle, you know, it is a thorns. Even when we touch the rose flower and all, even it prickles us, it hurts us. So how much it might be hurting our tiny fly. So that prickles, even that is compared to a great weapon, a huge weapon, spear. Spear, it is a weapon which has a long pole with a pointed tip. Now Hindu mythology, there is a Lord Subramanian. Even the Lord Subramanian, his weapon is spear. So let's come to the second stanza. In the second stanza he says, the poet says, a dewdrop is like a looking glass, a hair like golden wire, the smallest grain of the mustard seeds, as fierce as coals of fire. So even the dewdrops, you know, it's droplets of water which we can see early in the morning. When you raise early or when you awake early in the morning, you can see that dewdrops on the leaves and grasses. Even that dewdrops, even that droplets of water which is formed as bubbles, even that seems to be like a looking glass, like a mirror for the tiny fly. Even that seems so enlarged. You know that dewdrops, it is so clear as crystal. So that's why it is compared to a mirror. Next, you know that this fly, they sits on our body. So when it sits on our head or hair, it seems that our hair is like a golden wire. Why it is golden color? You know, all our hair, the color of our hair is black. Still, why it is said golden? Because our poet is a British poet, and you know the foreigners, their hair is blonde, a pale yellow color. So that's why it is compared to a golden wire. The hair is compared to a golden wire. Even that small hair, delicate hair, even that is compared to a strong wire. And the mustard seeds, you might have seen mustard seeds. In all the kitchens there are mustard seed, and if you haven't seen, ask your mothers to show the mustard seed. Even that small mustard seed, that seems to like a big coals. Coals, you know, that is rock-like substances which are used to produce heat. Coal is used for burning, to make fire. Even that seems so, the mustard seeds, even that mustard seems so enlarged to our tiny fly. It is compared to coals, burning coals. And you know, when the fire it is so fierce, when we touch it, it will surely get burnt. So it is compared to fierce, that coals of fire, it is compared to as fierce. It is fierce means so violent or frightening. The small tiny mustard seed, it is compared to fierce coals. Now come to the last third stanza. In the third stanza he says, a loaf of bread, the food item, a loaf of bread, a lofty hill, a wasp, a cruel leopard, and specks of salt, as bright to see as lambkins to a shepherd. So loaf of bread, you know, the bread which is baked and which can be sliced for eating. So that loaf of bread, even that food item, it seems like a high hills, hills of great height. Lofty means high. So even that small loaf of bread, that seems so enlarged, so huge, so large for our tiny fly. Even that is compared to a lofty hill, to a hill which is of great height. And then he says, a wasp. Wasp means it is a small insect, even that it is an insect which has yellow and black stripes. You might have seen it, yellow and black stripes. It will sting us. So even that wasp, maybe it is because of that it stings us. It is compared to leopard. Leopard, it is so fierce, so frightening, so violent. Even that wasp is tiny wasp, which we consider as tiny. Even that tiny wasp is compared to a fierce leopard, a cruel leopard, a frightening leopard. Leopard, it's an animal which belongs to the tiger family. Even that small wasp is compared to a fierce leopard. And specks of salt. Specks means small dots or tiny spots. Tiny spots of this salt is compared to lambkins. Lambkin means young lambs. Even that tiny spots of salt is compared to the young lambs. Both are white in color. The salt and lambs, they are white in color. That's why they are compared together. So even that is compared to lambs. Lambs for a shepherd. Whatever we consider as everyday normal object, the salt is the daily normal object that we use in our food. Even that, what we can say, it's so tiny, even that is compared to lambkins, young lambs. How the lambs are to a shepherd, in a similar way, this salt is to the tiny fly. So throughout the poem, in the entire poem, you can see that everyday objects, whatever we feel as everyday objects, tiny objects, normal objects, that seems very enlarged to our tiny fly, our little fly. Just many comparisons, there are many list of comparisons. It's a symbol poem. So I hope all of you understood how our daily normal objects are compared to the objects which our tiny fly considers very large. I hope you understood all the list of comparisons. And we will discuss in detail the figure of speeches, whatever the poet has used, the devices the poet has used in this poem, we will discuss in the next class. So once again, read the poem, be thorough with the poem. You don't have to by heart the lines, but just be aware of these lines. So I hope all of you will read the poem. So that's all for today. Let's wind up the session. See you in the next class.